Well, today we're talking about a really cool topic, the most overlooked actions when training camels.
Whether you're a camel owner, wannabe camel owner, or simply an adoring camel fan, you're in the right place for some fun, useful, and interesting camel talk. This is the Camel Connection podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Tara.
And I'm Russell. Join us here for fun learning about camels, how to care for, train and handle them, plus insider stories and interviews.
And also some interesting stories of our lifestyle with camels, the good, the bad, the ugly and the very funny.
Make sure you've subscribed now so you don't miss out on an episode.
Some of these podcasts are an audio take of our video, so be sure to check those out on our blog for lots of how-to visuals and, of course, lots of camels.
This is your one and only go-to podcast, all about camels.
Welcome back to the Camel Connection podcast. It's Tara here.
Hi, and it's Russell here.
We're so pleased you're here with us again and how you're all faring in this COVID-19 crisis.
Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe.
And keeping entertained. Like, sometimes I think, like I found myself checking my privilege today on how privileged we are to have land and to have space and to have the animals that we do. And I went for a walk in the bush, actually a run in the bush this morning, and there was no one but me, the dogs and the birds and whatever wildlife is around. And I really felt for people in the city, just like they're locked in their apartments. They can't go anywhere except for shopping. It must be really full on for those people.
It's very full on, and I can imagine out of this there'll be some pretty good karaoke competitions will be coming out of this.
Or some good online learning
or
about
really
camels.
Good online learning, that's it. But yeah, whatever you're doing, okay, stay safe.
Yeah, so today we are talking about the most overlooked actions when training and handling camels. So we're going to drop a few gold nuggets today.
Yeah, just a couple. I mean, there's so many, but, just a couple. And look, can I start? I want to start. I want to start.
You definitely cannot start.
Why? No. Why? No, I'm going to anyway. So the first one that I've got actually is... Look, it's elementary. It's so it overarches everything that we're doing. Absolutely overarches everything that we're doing. Everything that we do revolves around this one pointer, and that is the understanding of the person within. Now, that sounds a bit, unicorns and fairies. So let me get into that a little bit. Obviously, we've got an animal, that 4 legs and skin and, blood and guts and everything in the middle. But there's something that keeps that animal going with their personality and all those things that make us who we are.
Unique.
If you like. It's the living being, the spiritual side of things. And this is something that really does interest me in particular, is to... who is that person inside that skin, and understanding that person and why they are who they are and why they behave in the ways that they behave. And what is it? Are they that type of temperament of a person that's naturally fearful of everything? Are they the type of person who is inquisitive? Are they extroverted?
Outgoing, yeah.
Are they, who is in the skin of that camel? Yeah.
And honestly, I think that I personally love that about dealing with camels is every camel is so different. And I love that about them because, even though the training across the board is very much foundational stuff and same, but you often have to tweak a little bit how you're doing things to compensate for the camel's personality.
That's exactly what I'm on about. Exactly, yeah.
So that's really the most most overlooked thing is that, okay, well, it's not really like do this, do that, and let's action. It's like, well, let's just take a moment and find out who this camel is. And when we do our in-person courses, and what we encourage with people who do our online course too, is to take some time with your camel, find out who they are. You know, what are they doing when you're not looking? You know, like that sort of stuff I think really
counts. And what are
counts.
they doing when you are?
Yeah.
Looking, you know, that the whole thing about, you know, coming from the teaching profession with classroom of kids, I mean, you know, you got your textbooks and all that sort of stuff back in the day when we had books.
We still have books.
We still have books, but I mean, lots online now, of course. But, you know, it was like, okay, I can distinctly remember teaching mathematics in high school, and it was a textbook, and here were the lessons day by day, and it was basically just go through the book, and it was not catering for the individual,
personalities and people's learning styles.
That's it. And it was
Same
a matter of,
camel.
well, you know, step by step by all means, and very similar to, you know, our program, if you like, but what I'm saying is that foundational stuff, you need to also take into consideration, okay, here's your student, your camel, in this case.
And you're the student too.
What do they like? What don't they like? What do they really attract to? And you work on the positives. That's the important part, is working really on the positives. And that's another point, which I'll get to later. But understand that person within and work with it, with the foundational, you know, structure. And you'll find that you'll appreciate it more, that camel, because you've developing this bond that's
open-ended sort of thing.
Open, yeah.
I would love to segue into from this into something that, like we just talked about, the student, and I think this is also the most overlooked thing, is who is the student? Who is the student when you're training and handling camels? A lot of people just assume that, well, it's the camel. They need to learn how to do these things, and I'm the one to teach them that. And it doesn't matter where you start, if you're, you know, a professional or you're learning from somebody else. But it's not the case. You're the student, because the camel knows how to sit. The camel knows how to walk. Does the camel know how to carry a saddle? No, but, you know, that stuff, they adapt to it really easy. It's the actual basics of getting them to sit and walking and all that sort of stuff that they need, that sort of they need to add two and two together and go, oh, I know how to do these things, and this person's telling me how to do them. Oh, I can do this sort of thing. Yeah.
Look, I mean, one of the biggest challenges I think that we have, people who come on our course actually have, it's not so much a challenge, but it's a revelation, if anything, is that they're actually forced to look at themselves and how they are perceived by another person, or in this case, a camel.
The animal.
All right.
And it's really confronting sometimes.
It can be really confronting, you know, and look, you know, if you're sort of that sort of person that, you know, is full of love and understanding and acceptance and open, you know, and well, then you know, you'll actually have quite an easy time with this. But if you're all of a sudden going through the program sort of thing and realising that you've got to look at yourself, and then finding out that, you know, there's some character traits that you're not exactly happy with, you can get angry, you can get mad, you can get upset, you can get disappointed, you can get, you know, all of these types of things. And so, yeah, it can be very confronting. It can be life-changing.
Oh, well, I mean...
Because if you're not happy with something, you might actually choose to do something about it.
That's the main feedback that we get from people that do our courses, is like, that was life-changing. They can't quite articulate why that was so life-changing, but this is why, because you are forced to look at yourself. How is that camel seeing you when you walk into that yard? And because they will mirror whatever you're doing. And... that's another great point, and that's overlooked too, is that, you know, the camel's behaviour really determines on how your inner being is. And I say inner being because they are way more sensitive to that stuff than than anybody else.
Credit for, yeah.
And it's so sensitive to that stuff, like little things like we could be walking in the desert and they will sense something, like there was a a cow that died a couple of 100 meters away, and we wouldn't know that because we can't smell it, we can't sense it, but then we'll walk past it when we get there and like, oh, that's what they were upset about. Little things like that, they're just so sensitive to.
One thing I noticed of walking along roads, here in Australia we have markers where there's been a car accident and someone's passed away.
Camels don't really.
And it's just a basic marker. It's nothing really flash. It's there.
Someone's put a cross or flowers or something.
How sensitive the camels were in those particular cases.
I've had that
what's
too.
all that about? It's really interesting stuff, and certainly well worthwhile checking into because we're really getting down to the guts of the spirituality and the relationship of the two spirits, yours and the camel, when you dive into this sort of stuff.
And it's not even like, I think instinctively we all kind of know this information, but we're sort of like, during our lives and stuff, we're so pragmatic and we're so practical that we think things like this maybe don't exist anymore, or, it can't.
Our ego gets in the way of this one.
Or it can't be that simple. But, everything and the way that we teach our courses is in a way that it's like, well, hey, here's the animal, they will reflect you, whatever you're feeling, and, this is the process we're going to go through to changing you. Changing you so that you can train camels, which is, I mean, to be honest, it's so much harder doing it the other way around, I think.
Look, I couldn't even go there.
I think like it's like you're having a war with something, like, neither of you are willing to kind of be vulnerable to each other, and it's just like this constant grind and trying to do rather than just be.
Well, it's also, from my perspective, I look at it as I'm improving myself by continuously challenging my belief systems and believing, sort of.
Well, there's a T-shirt.
What's that?
Get a camel, change your life, or improve yourself.
Improve yourself to get a camel.
Yeah.
There'll be so many T-shirts coming out of this period.
Seriously, I could spend all day making T-shirts.
Could you?
And my next one's going to be, and this will be available soon, guys. It might be available now. You can check over at our camel shop, but camels are people too.
I like that. Yeah, I do. I really like that.
Because we call our camels people.
Yeah.
We're like, go get that person.
Well, we give them names. I mean, Jack and Coco.
Camels are people too.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, so you really understand your camel. I mean, get to know who they are as a person, for want of a better word.
Person in quote. Yeah.
It's just the best thing. I mean, we do that with our dogs. We do that with our cats. We do that with. I don't know, birds even, people have got pet birds. Well, why not your camel? Because
tarantulas.
They're much more than just simply something that, you can go ahead and stick a saddle on and go for a ride. Or
milk them.
There's so much more.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
Yeah, and they when you start to respect that element of them, it's like everything switches and changes and they're more willing to do things with you. Yeah.
And your appreciation just grows.
And their appreciation for you grows.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I've got another most overlooked action when training camels. Do you want to hear about it?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay,
hear the applause.
Oh, yes, please. Yeah. Okay, it's time. Time. There's a couple of factors in here. There's certainly the amount of time that it can take, and of course, getting back to that first part of our discussion today, some camels are going to take longer, and that's something to discover about that camel. And they just won't quite click on a certain concept or an idea for quite some time. You might have to put something else in place as a bridging sort of tool or learnings to be able to make something click
it's
over.
a funny thing because one of the most common questions we get a lot of common questions. There's always themes.
Which is great.
And one of those is, which is an easier temperament to work with, a male or female camel. When we're talking male and female, the male, we're talking like, either a young bull that's not, a breeding bull or rutting bull and or a neutered bull. And it's a really interesting thing because then I think to myself, well, are they looking for something easy and manageable, or are they looking, like I always question the question behind the question.
Yeah.
What is it that they are looking for? And we have answered this before in a Q&A, male versus female, so you can go back and listen to that. But ultimately, with the male-female thing, it doesn't matter because they're all different personalities. It's sort of like putting two people together. Like, well, which one would you choose? It's like, well, they're both different personalities. They're both going to be very different to work with. They require similar and same foundational training, but two different personalities. I mean, yeah, like and that's what it comes down to. Look,
at the end of the day, if you're buying camels, that really does come down to that selection process that you go through as well. It doesn't matter whether it's male or female, to be honest. Except unless if you're after females specifically for milking, for example. But do you like that animal? Is there something, and you quite often cannot put your finger on what it is.
Yeah.
But do you like that animal? And
you feel like there's like something about that animal that you really like, and you can't pinpoint it exactly, but it's just.
And you have to be dead set honest with yourself about that. It's not because isn't it beautiful, cute? All camels, as far as I'm concerned, are beautiful and cute.
Those that think camels aren't are just weird.
I don't understand. But anyway, that's because I haven't spent the time to try to understand them, and I don't really want to spend the time either.
Someone said cows were cuter than camels the other day. I'm like, how can you even compare cows and camels?
Well, I suppose it's just a preference of species there.
Yeah.
But look, I suppose if we had a whole bunch of cows, there'd be ones that I'd be really attracted to, and ones that I thought, oh well, that's just a cow.
I never forget when someone told me face to face, geez, camels are ugly.
Yeah, I remember people telling me.
And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's right.
I just didn't get it. I'm like, I don't get it.
Look, it's all part of that misconception as well.
Yeah, or that fear.
That thing that people say because they don't know what to say because they don't know anything.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure it is. But
yeah,
so getting back to time, okay, so the time that it can take, it can vary.
Virtual Camel School enrollments are now open. From wherever you are in the world, you can get access to our popular pre-recorded camel training video course and join us live online in our own camel training yards, where we will be giving you camel training demonstrations, troubleshooting, and answering your camel training questions. See us live once a week for 4 weeks in this dynamic program. You'll be learning the gentle approach to camel training, namely our Camel Connection Trustbased camel training, to build a strong foundational training for yourself and any camel you work with. You don't need a camel to take part. Those that have camels can join and implement the training as we go. This is for beginners to advanced camel owners, handlers, and of course lovers. We guarantee you'll learn something new. This is the best place on the internet to improve your camel skills, confidence, and knowledge on the camel's psychology. Find out how you can join by visiting camelconnection.com/camel school.
Okay, so the time that it can take, it can vary with your camels, so just accept that. Don't rush the processes. I don't think. I don't think it's worth it myself. If you're consistent and persistent, well then obviously you're going to get more results quicker. But if there's a blockage within the camel, you know, you might have
blockage,
a blockage.
Get the plumber.
There's a blockage in the thought process is to be able to move on.
Yeah.
Then you know, your consistency and persistency will pay off, but also you might have to tweak a little bit so that that camel can overcome those hurdles that it's having within itself.
And you're there like as a guide and a mentor to help them through those things.
Yeah. And I think that coming to, you know, the actual training, we talk about thinking time a lot too. Allowing the camel that time to think, and that's why we do things in small chunks and stages, and allowing that time. Even that time is actually work time for the camel. To allow them to think.
I actually think also that's just as beneficial for the humans as well.
Oh, for sure, because you'll be able to reflect back and see what's what. And
rather than just do in like
right.
a 2 hour, 3 hour period or an hour period. Actually stepping back and going, yeah, how is the camel perceiving me here? How am I reacting to what's going on here? You know, am I getting frustrated? Am I feeling angry that I'm not getting certain results by a certain time? I find that camel time that we give the camel is also very beneficial for the handler as well.
Yeah. Turning out, there's time. All right, so once you've gone through a certain series of procedures and stuff like that in the training, you got to a certain stage or a level, if you like, well, it gives the camel the honour of having time to itself. All right, and turning them out. Now, the camel's not going to forget.
Camels don't go green like horses or
that's
purple.
Right. And if anything, you know, they've thought about it and they're actually better when you bring them back in for the next lot of, or reinforcement, whatever it might be. But give them that space, give them that time. It's a beautiful thing for them to have, and they deserve it. You know, they've got to be camels at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. They have to learn to be camels in order for you to do the camel things you want to do, right?
Yeah. Well, they just need to be.
They're not a dog. They're not a horse. They're a camel.
Yeah, they need to sit out in the paddock and just look at the sun.
Chew their cud. Yeah.
And they need that time.
So you probably got it on your list, but I'm going to bring up consistency. You know, consistency with the training styles that you're using, consistency with consistency / routines as well. Camels thrive off routines.
They do.
And you change something. Oh, who were we talking to the other day? They changed something in the camel's paddock, and then after that, everything, like she just said, the camel seemed to get pissed, and then she just started not allowing us to do the normal things that we started to do.
Yeah.
And we sort of laughed.
You might have to explain that getting pissed, okay? Because a lot of people. It would be a cultural thing there.
Yeah, so the camel got annoyed. Yeah. So, which is really interesting. They just changed one thing in the paddock, and this camel started to get annoyed and just didn't allow these owners to do the things that they would normally do. There was started to be other issues involved, which I thought was really interesting. We kind of had a laugh. It's because like just classic examples of how especially older camels just love their routines.
Oh, yeah.
And you change it. Like I remember we had this Christmas tree once, and you know, once we're done with a pine tree, we give it to the camels to eat. But they didn't see us throw it over the fence when we did it, and the older camels were coming up and, you know, in their routine, following their camel track that they have to come up to the front paddock, and they just stopped, and they just would not stop staring at this pine tree, which God knows what
it was on the side. It was on its side.
Yeah, and it probably looked like a dead body.
It was something that was going to leap out and grab them. And come back to the primeval.
But how funny and interesting that it was the older camels, no matter what, like they were just not going forward. It was the younger camels that actually like, oh yeah, I'm brave. I can figure this out. And then they would go closer and then run away. Anyway, so that tree did not get eaten.
No. So we made sure the following year that the camel saw us.
They saw us throw it over.
Yeah.
But it's just that little something's changed about the routine. You know, what is that thing there? And I'm not going there. And I find with the older camels, like, you know, we're talking +8+ years, they just get so set in their ways.
They do, yeah. Look, I mean, it actually comes up with a story which might be of help here too. A British industrialist, a very wealthy man. He was also into capturing wildlife for zoos and stuff like that, right? And And he was asked a question once in some speech that he was given. So exactly how do you catch a lion? That was the question. Of course, I mean, straight away you get an image. Just spend a couple of microseconds here of how do you catch a lion? So some people listening here would think, oh, okay, so you chase them with a 4-wheel drive and throw a net over them. Some people might have tranquilizer darts. Some people might have thought, something else, okay? Helicopters, who knows what? I mean, all sorts of things, pits, even,
Booby traps.
But his answer was really, really interesting. And that was, what he would do in this situation is he would go ahead and get some fresh meat and put it where he knows the lions go ahead and cross on their path. And come across this fresh meat. So he'd put the meat out for 5 days. Right? Every day, some meat. And every day, initially, the lions go, oh, hang on, what's this? Oh, and a bit, sort of sniff around and carry on, have a bit of a bite, and, oh, yeah, okay, right. So after the 5th day, they were very used to it. Then what he would do is he would continue to put that fresh meat out, but he would erect a pole, one pole. So there was a pole. Oh, the lion's thinking, oh, there's a pole, but hang on, there's my meat. Oh, no, no, my meat, yeah, my meat.
My routine is to eat this meat now,
right.
yeah.
So then you do that for a couple of days, and then they put another pole, and so on, and so on, and so on, until eventually there was a trap door that the lion had to go through to get to his meat. And once the lion thought, well, my meat, okay, I'll just go through one of those traps, and the door closed behind him. He was caught. All right, and that's how he caught the lion. All right, slowly capture monkey, I think, is another expression that can be used there. With your camel, wanting them to get them to a certain point. All right, slowly catch the monkey, one little chunk at a time. That's where I'm going.
I think that's why I know that's why our Camel Connection Trust-Based Camel Training is so effective, is because it's chunky.
Little chunks.
we chunk it up into little chunks, or chop it up into little chunks, and it's teachable in that respect, and it's really relatable to people as well. And we know this from people's feedback who've been in person and done the online course as well. And it really is a step-by-step process. If someone comes along and says, and, maybe you've got this, in quotes, issue with your camel, and they're like, oh, don't worry, I'll come and fix that, and they think they're going to fix it in a day. Well, yeah, probably not, because camels require consistency and routine. Like we say that we can easily train a camel in 3 days, which is true, we can. But you know what? After that, they need consistency. They need reinforcement and all that sort of stuff. So it's a commitment that you either choose to have or choose not to have. And if you've got a camel, you're choosing that commitment. So it's little things like that. It's the little the things that count, which really comes down to simplicity. Some people just, I feel like as a world, we just want to blow things out of proportion and make everything complicated when it really is simple. I feel like camels just bring us back to simplicity, like more often than anything else can.
Yeah. And I think on that with the step-by-step too, building up on... what have we got here?
He can't read his own writing.
No.
He's like...
I've got the build-up of species, yeah. Okay, positive reinforcement.
Yep.
All right, positive reinforcement over negative reinforcement. So, it's like if you've got a misbehaving camel, well... what we call a misbehaving camel, a camel that's developed some behavioural pattern that you don't like. That's some people would term as a misbehaving camel, but really they're not. They just don't know the positive behaviours that they really need to do. So you praise the positive more so than reinforcing the negative by saying no or no, don't do that or anything like that. I mean, don't underestimate that you have to do that, okay, if they're continuously biting, and you can push their face away with your hand and say no, but positive reinforcement wins well and truly more points in the training process than negative.
But there's also overdoing it as well.
Oh yeah. Totally.
So I think we speak about that
appropriate.
in our I know we speak about that in our virtual camel school actually through our live videos. We speak a lot about because we can say these things, but to actually know them and to know what we mean when we say them is a totally it can be.
It's got to be genuine.
Different translation.
Going back to my teaching days, if some student did something good, then I'd say, well, good on you, Johnny. Well done, mate. Did well. Short and sweet. Right? Directed. He knows that he's done well. But if I went, good on you, Johnny. Well done. Oh, you're such a good boy. That was absolutely incredible. You're just marvellous at that. He's going to either get bored, sick and tired, or realise that you're overdoing it and it's non-genuine.
I've seen camels bite when they're getting praised, which is really funny. For us to watch because we're like, we get the camel. So the last point that I want to make here before we finish up is one of the most overlooked things. Like you can do all this work in the yard, and that's really great and handy, and really useful with the reinforcements. But it's actually just taking your camel for a decent walk.
Yeah.
They love walking, and here's why: because in their natural environment, in the deserts and stuff, they will just walk and walk and walk, foraging for food and water. So it's their natural thing to do. You're not asking them to do the impossible. They know how to walk, and it's your job to mentor them through, how to do that safely with you, in a friendship sort of situation. So that's the difference really, but they know how to walk.
And it's bonding time with you and your camel, and if you're going through the bush or that there's some nice plants that's good for them and that they like eating, and you're aiming directly for them while you're walking so they can have a munch along the way, they're really enjoying the whole experience. It
is about that. It's about building that friendship between you and the camel, and we're so excited for this month, April, when we're doing this, because we have opened our doors to virtual camel school again. We every year, twice a year, we do like a live round. So virtual camel school's always open. You can sign up to do the course anytime, but twice a year we do like these live rounds, which mean you have your core training, and then for 4 weeks, once a week, we get on to a live video call as a group with us and the students, and we coach you through that core lesson with our camels and demonstrate certain things and troubleshoot with you and all of that stuff. And we're so excited to be offering that again this year. And also it's really timely because we're kind of all looking for something to do if we're stuck at home with, in quarantine, and maybe you're with your animals, and that's a really great thing. This is probably the perfect time to go through this virtual camel school. And,
definitely. Look, well, yeah, what better time to train your camels than when you've got time?
Yeah, train and handle them, build that friendship, build that relationship. So you can head over to camelconnection.com/camel school to find out more about virtual camel school. And yeah, would love to have you there, of course. Like, this is everything we've spoken about today is just like surface level stuff. A lot of people say, should I sign up? Like, they'll email us and say, should I sign up to virtual camel school? Do you go into more training than what you do in your podcast? And the answer is absolutely
Definitely.
Yes. Like,
absolutely.
This is just surface level stuff. It's useful information for you,
stuff,
but it's surface level.
Yeah.
We go so much deeper and more. We're looking for expansion for you and your camel and your relationship with the camel. And if you don't have camels, it's also very relevant to you too, because you're going to be learning all these things before you get a camel, which is probably the most ideal circumstances. And also the students will be sharing their journeys and what they're doing with their camels. My camel's not responding to this. What do I do? Like, we're here to support you.
I think also, I've just had a bit of a flashback. When I was learning many moons ago, a few lifetimes.
Oh, so you've stopped learning?
No, but when I
you first started.
Yeah. The whole concept for me was I wanted to know everything. So when I first started learning about camels, etc., I wanted to know everything about these animals, understanding that they were a spiritual being, and understanding that there were certain processes involved, and understanding what their likes and their dislikes were all about. I wanted to be responsible, I think was the word I'm really looking for, with such a large animal. And that's why, what we're doing here, is offering you as much as what we possibly can, so that you have this deep understanding. I mean, not just with our podcasts and, the sort of discussions that we have, but in our courses as well, to go into it as much as possible so that you really get the most out of being a camel owner.
And I always often wonder, and I'd love to ask you guys who are listening this question, what could improving your camel skills mean for you? Could that mean something career orientated around camels? Do you want a career with camels? Do you want to start your own business with camels? Do you want to go for a big expedition or a big camel trek? Do you just want to do weekend things with your camels and take them on picnics and stuff like that? Do you want to ride them? Do you want them as pets, as companions? All of that. All of the possibilities. Like Russell and I have done a lot of things in our lives with camels, and it's because of that possibility of learning new things that those things have happened. So we would love you to consider, what would this mean for you to improve your camel skills,
and knowledge.
Is this going to get you from A to B a lot quicker than what it would take in the long road, which is trying to Google everything? That's almost impossible.
Tried that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we'd love to have you over at Virtual Camel School. Please go and have a look at the page and see if it resonates with you. Obviously, it's 100% your choice, obviously, if you sign up or not and join us and other students on this. We've got about 130 odd students currently in Virtual Camel School, and that's going to grow over the time that we're opening up this live round. So, you've got a community there too, which is pretty bloody awesome, I think. A like-minded community, which is really great. So again, Virtual Camel School is at camelconnection.com/camel school.
That's it. That's the one.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
All right, guys. Take care and be safe, eh?
Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.